All right. Hey guys, I wanted to come on and I wanted to just, I don't know, just clarify something. I think some people need a little history lesson, especially people of color who like to judge white people as a group. This is really important for people to understand, and I am so exhausted of the narrative that somehow all white people are to blame for the oppression of people with skin color that is different from ours. It's really easy to ignore the reality and the fact that the majority of white people were actually captured as slaves under the conquering rulers, and that a lot of Caucasian white-skinned people like myself come from lineages of pagan descent that were actually overtaken by the rulers. They just happen to be white, they just happen to be Caucasian, okay? But the majority of us have been absorbed into the system by those that did not resist, okay? Because those that resisted were wiped out, all right? They were murdered. They were annihilated, all right? So there might have been some that wanted to resist, would have resisted, but maybe they had children, maybe they had families, maybe they had reasons that they didn't want to resist because they knew that that would mean annihilation of their entire family. So they might have just put up with it, you know, and didn't stand up, and therefore they were spared and passed down their, you know, DNA, you know, through their offspring for generations. And now there are some of that lineage that is starting to rise up right now and starting to awaken to once again see through the veil and see through the complete corruption and disturbing need of certain groups of people to rule over others. So this idea that white people as a group are responsible for the oppression of others is absolute fucking nonsense. And it really needs to stop. And I think that as a white person, as a white woman, you know, you don't really want to be that person who says things to inflame people, right? It's like, I don't want to inflame people. I don't want to say things that are insensitive, but I sure as hell am not going to sit down and take it. And I am not going to sit here or stand here or be anywhere and listen to people talk absolute nonsense. Okay? White people have been enslaved. All people of all colors have been enslaved. Okay? It just does appear on the planet that a lot of slavery did take place at the hands of Caucasians, but blacks have owned black slaves. In Asia, there's Asian slaves. Over in India, there's Indian slaves. Okay, all cultures have a role to play in this disgusting, disgusting reality of domination over others. And this is the problem with the planet. It's absolutely disturbing beyond comprehension how we ever got to this place. And things are not better today. They might be better in the outright expression of it, but we're all slaves. We are all under the boot of governments and authorities that don't care about humanity. Okay, people get up every day and go to jobs, most of the time jobs that people don't like at all. There's a lot of people that are working every day just to friggin' live. Just to live, just to exist. Not go on vacations, not, you know, trotting off on yachts and, you know, going to Disney, and just to simply exist. It's a fucked up system. And when you look at the violence that has been on this planet for as long as it has been on it, it's not just about one skin color asserting violence on another skin color. If you look at Africa, there's been intertribal violence for years. Native Americans, indigenous people all over the globe, violence against each other of the same color. It's nothing new. It's just another narrative to further divide people, to keep us separated even more. So if you are someone of color and erroneously believe that white people as a group are responsible for what some of your people experienced, then you need a reality check. Okay, and it's pretty well known that even during the whole slavery in this country, in the United States, that it wasn't accepted in the North. The Northerners didn't accept that. The Northerners didn't participate in that. Now, one could argue that it's because we didn't have the farmland and the crops and the plantations and all of that, so it didn't really demand it. I'm not even going to get into that, okay? Because that's just a whole nother level. Okay, but not everybody is a shitty person. And not every white person is a shitty person because of their skin color. Okay, and this whole thing about white women privilege, well, I could very, very, very easily demonstrate that there are a lot of white women that are desperately poor and in desperately horrific situations and environments, and they don't have any fucking privilege because of the color of their skin. Okay? That's a farce. It's bullshit. And there's a lot of white men also that don't have any privilege because of the color of their skin. So, if you are going to go into a culture where you are now the minority, I don't care where you live. I could go anywhere on this planet, anywhere, to any country where my skin color is the minority, and I guarantee you, life will be different for me than it is of the people that share that culture, the heritage, the skin color, the background. I would be an outcast. I'm not saying people wouldn't be nice to me. What I'm saying is I would be an outcast. And I'm not so sure that I would be received with any kind of privilege in another culture. But yet I can tell you that I can go right into the city, which is not that far from where I live, and see many, many, many people of color, many, driving Cadillacs and huge SUVs and living in beautiful houses, wearing expensive jewelry and watches. I see it a lot, actually, a lot. Is it the norm? No, but it's not the norm for white people either. Like, what the hell is wrong with people's thinking? It's not the norm for most white people either. If you're going to come into a country or a culture where a particular race dominates, yes, you're going to be like, oh, look at all the rich white people. Well, it's just because there's more of them. But it doesn't mean that the majority of them are rich. Because I can tell you the majority of white people in this country are not rich. nor are they privileged. They are working their fucking asses off, doing the bump and grind just like everybody else that is not in that higher tier. That higher tier is comprised of very few people compared to the rest of us. Now, when you talk about the middle class, if you dare say that the middle class is privileged, you should have your tongue cut out. Okay? That is absolute bullshit, because the middle class typically works their fucking heart out to provide for their families. So this idea that there's just this privilege, like someone might look at my husband, and not by the way we look, because like, you know, we live very, very modestly. But my husband has made decent money over his life. Someone might look at him and go, oh, white privilege. No. It's because he gets up every day at 4:30 in the morning and goes and sometimes puts in 16-hour days. And he has traveled because he's needed to travel for a job. It's not white privilege. It's character and integrity. And it's having the audacity to actually have enough discipline and will to be able to push yourself, to be able to do what you need to do to provide for your family. I've watched my husband go on jobs where he would work 16-hour days, drive home, an hour drive, to get a few hours of sleep, to have to get up and go back and do it again and again and again and again for days on end, sometimes weeks on end. One particular job he was on a shutdown, and they were working 7 days a week. How many hours a day? It was ridiculous. It was well over 12 hours a day, because those rules don't apply. A lot of people think that there's all of these rules where, oh, you can't do that, all these labor laws, but they change depending on the circumstance. And when there's a shutdown at some of the places that my husband works, because they're on real time schedules, they will sometimes work literally 16 hours a day. And when you are traveling back and forth to work, by the time you get home to sleep, you're not getting much sleep at all. My husband has done that for months on end, actually. This was way back, though, when my daughter was little. He hasn't had anything quite that extreme in a long time. But yeah, it's not privilege. It's not privilege. It's character, strength, dignity, integrity. The ability to keep going when really all you want to do is lay down and go to sleep. So I didn't make this video to offend anybody. I just made it to clarify some erroneous narratives that are floating around out there, because I'm really, really tired of it. Especially being a white woman, I'm really tired of it. Having a white husband, white children. These are the things that divide us and continue to divide us and divide us and divide us. If you judge anyone on anything other than their character and integrity, then you're part of the problem. Each person is to be judged individually for who they are, not what their fucking grandfather did or ancestors that they didn't even know, or groups of people that have nothing to do with them. They just happen to share the same skin color. This needs to fucking stop. And I cannot believe how many people still promote this bullshit. Anyway, signing out.